training. My name is Tokwa Shodainde, and I'll be going through API for those of us that don't know what API testing is. And also, yeah, we'll be answering some questions and make it as interactive as possible. All right, so I don't intend to go into I don't intend to make it complex today, but if anyone has a question or if you are confused, then you just signify maybe in the chat bar and say you want to ask a question and all that. So I'm sure that so let me just start by saying that how many of you have heard of API before? You can type in the chat. I want to make it interactive, so you can type in the chat bar, have you heard of API before? If you've heard of API before, let me know. Yes, that's fine. So a couple of us have heard of API before. All right, so how many of you, so do you know, so one fact for those of us that don't know what API is, do you know that you make use of API at almost every interval of the day? Maybe when you want to, order food from the restaurant, you want to check the weather and all that. Do you know that you actually make use of API? So, okay, all right, so that's just like a starter to this course here. So the course overview is basically, we'll be talking about what API is, types of API, the benefits of API, and we'll probably, before the end of the class, just lay our hands on making a simple request to an API endpoint. So, right, so what is API? What does it stand for? Basically, API stands for Application Programming Interface. So the application programming interface is just like is a form of messenger between two software programs. So it allows communication between two software programs and allow them to talk to each other. So one of the things, so in a software application, as most of us, okay, for most of us, so for some of us that are just new to software, you have two applications. For instance, you have the UI, which is like the which every one of us use. When you go onto the internet, you type in you type in something into, maybe you're looking for a house to buy or a house to rent, or you're looking for a car to buy. You type in the kind of car you want to buy onto an application, and then something happens in the background that you're not aware of, and then you return to a search result. That is basically what an API does. So between the point of where you're entering whatever you're searching for, and getting the result back, there is a form of exchange between that software or application. So this is so what bridges the gap between what you are seeing and what you can't see, and the response you are getting back is the API. All right. So API follows a set of rules to allow protocols and to allow communication between these protocols. So from the diagram that you are seeing at the moment, you can see that, okay, you have a lady or a guy going to an ATM machine. So when you go to the ATM machine, as you all know, you enter your PIN. At the point of entering that PIN, and then you press enter, then something happens. It says, okay, enter your PIN gets validated, and then it opens up your account for you. So that is making use of a protocol. So there's an exchange between the first layer, which is the presentation layer, which is your user interface, which is your interactive interface for the user. And there's also a communication with the backend. So the backend is where, for instance, maybe if you're a simple example is you're looking at a banking interface. You're making where your account is, where your name is, where your all the dollars, all the pounds or naira that you've stored there, where it is. So there's this interaction back and forth. That is what the API does. So it just makes communication easy, making two things to talk to each other. So another example, so in this particular example now, you've entered your PIN, it's been validated, then it opens up your account for you. Then you can make a request, okay, I want to withdraw 10 pounds, I want to withdraw 20 pounds, I want to change my PIN and all that. So as you progress through each workflow within the application, you are making use of API. something is talking to each other. It's just, talking and receiving, talking and receiving, talking and receiving, so at that point, there's this communication occurring, and then that is where you make use of API. So an ACM is a basic example, and which we all make use of every time. So you enter your PIN gets validated. The next thing is the screen shows up. You put in the amount you want to withdraw. Then it takes it back again to the back end. It verifies, okay, that's fine. This person has £1,000. Then okay. Then then it asks you for how much do you want to withdraw. You put in £500. It goes to the bank. Okay, this person has a limit of £500 to withdraw. Then it dispenses your cash, and that is how it works, right? So from what I've shown you earlier, you can see that on this diagram that I am talking about, we've talked about the different presentation layer, which is your UI, that you can make use of an API, that you can actually call an API to use. And then within that UI, you have something which is in between. So looking at this diagram, I don't know if you can see my cursor, right? Looking at this diagram, you have like the UI, which is your presentation layer that you can interact with. And then between that presentation layer, you have this API. So the API is where all the logic happens. So for instance, if you go to a restaurant now, you want to buy food. So the waiter comes to you and says, okay, this is the menu that we have here. You are interacting with the menu. The menu is your user interface. Okay, there's rice, there's this, there's that, there's this on the coleslaw. There's everything you have on the menu. So the waiter is the person saying, okay, fine, I am going to get your order, get your order from you, and then take it to the kitchen. So the kitchen is more like your back end. So in the kitchen, you have everything stored in the kitchen. You have all the food that you can imagine that is represent that you can access on the menu stored in your kitchen. So between the kitchen and you sitting in the restaurant, someone exchanges communication. That's what the API does, right? So between that point, you can't go to a restaurant and say, okay, I want to buy rice and chicken, and then just the waiter, okay, says, okay, you want rice and chicken, and then goes, okay, take rice and chicken and go. There has to be something in between. So the waiter serves as a communication between the backend, the kitchen, and you. And then the waiter also understands the logic. Okay, for every rice that you are going to buy, you're going to pay £2. So that is where the configuration. So that's where the logic is saying valid. So that's the waiter serves as the person who validates the logic, saying that, okay, for a plate of rice, you pay £2. For a plate of for a bottle of Coke, you pay £1. For this and that, you do this. So you can't just walk in and say, okay, give me food and then go. So someone has to validate that logic. So okay, the rice, £2. You tender your card or you tender your cash. You pay £2. You get rice. You do this, you do that. That is what the API basically does. Carries the information that would enable that there's a smooth transaction between the user interface, which you can interact with, and the backend, which you cannot see. I hope everybody's understanding me. All right, so API can be written and used for so many things. We've talked about the web interfaces. So you have your laptop, everything that you can access on the laptop, everything that you can access on the all the applications you can access on the phone, all the so you access Facebook every day, you access Instagram. Okay, someone's raising up there, and I'll take a question in a minute. You access Facebook every day, you access Instagram, you access a bank account, so many things, blogs and all that. And then there's this communication protocol that carries that information to verify who you are, and then returns that information for you. I'll just take the question quickly. So what question is that? Can you unmute yourself and ask?
Okay, thank you. So with your illustration about ordering rice, the waiter and the kitchen. So the kitchen is the API?
No. So the kitchen is the backend, the database. Okay, so let me say this again. Now, you are the user interacting with the menu. So the menu is the user interface. So user interface is what you would, where you enter your username, password, you search your search engine. Let's say your search engine, your application, your Facebook, your Instagram, they present you with something that you can interact with. That's your user interface. Now, whatever you're asking, someone serves as a messenger that says, okay, I want to buy rice. Yeah, you go and say, okay, you enter your rice online. I want to buy rice. Someone carries that message and says, okay, they go to Nando's and says, okay, this person wants to buy rice, right? So that messenger that carries that information from your screen to Nando's and brings it back is your API. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yes, yes, yes.
All right. So now the database at the back is your server. So Nando's will have a database that says, okay, customers from London, okay, they would, this particular protocol will serve customers from London, or let's say these customers from this is okay, anyone that wants to buy rice, type of rice that they will have a menu of rice in the database. This person can buy white rice, black rice, green rice, and all that. So that's basically what the API does. The API just exchanges communication between two systems that are talking to each other. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Yeah, so
Yes,
that's how it works now. So as I'm talking to you, there's something communicating me and you. I'm talking to you, I can't see you, but something is passing information between me and yourself. That's what the API basically does. Yeah. So in this particular example, now you would have, for instance, let me just give you another illustration. You have, for instance, if you have, you want to access, you want to sign into, let's say you want to sign into YouTube, right? Now, you put in your username and password, something carries that information from your screen to the database to say, okay, this is Mr. John. So you put in John at yahoo.com. It goes into the API. The API carries the information, understands that, okay, this is the validation that we need to, it has to be a valid email. And then it takes it to the backend, which is the database, and says, okay, for this particular YouTube account, we're looking for John 123456 at yahoo.com. So it's go into the database and say, okay, let me search for that John 123456 at yahoo.com. Okay, this person exists in the database, returns back that information back to the API. The API then carries the information back to the screen and then says, okay, bam, this person exists in the database, we give you access. That is basically what the API does. Am I making sense to anyone? Or if you want to ask a question, I want to make it interactive as possible. There's no point going through so many slides and then you guys don't understand it. So if you want to ask questions, just put it in the chat, then I'll ask you to unmute yourself. So we have different, I've talked about use cases, but I'm just going to expatiate on that with this following slide. So we have many use cases of API. So for instance, if you are going on holiday and you are trying to book a hotel, you go to a website. So for instance, if you go to TripAdvisor now, you search that you want to go to a hotel in France. So TripAdvisor, what TripAdvisor will do is, you're accessing that TripAdvisor website. You enter your France location that you want to travel to, but this particular site talks to different other sites. It talks to Premier Inn, it talks to Crown Plaza, it talks to Radisson Blues, it talks to so many hotels, Hilton and everything. So it now brings back the request, brings back a response for you, and then populates it on the travel advisor site. That is making use of an API. So there's a communication. So basically what has happened at that point is that Travel Advisor is able to access the gateway, the protocols for different hotels and different web services. So they're able to talk to each other and say, okay, give me the prices for this particular date for your hotel. It returns the price. And then the protocol, the API brings it back to the UI on Travel Advisor, and you're able to see, okay, for this hotel, this is the amount of money I'm going to. You would have to pay to be able to stay in that particular hotel for that day. For this one, for that one, So basically, that's how an API works. So API serves as a bridge, as a communication gap tool that makes two different applications talk to each other. So in this particular example, searching for your hotel, you go to a site linked to 10 different sites to find the best deals for you. When you input the details, like let's say Atlanta, 2 nights, 1 room, You send the request to those 10 different sites. The API takes a request for that date range and room, and then pings the 10 sites, who then send the deal they have found. So you look through the deals and pick the best one for you. So that's basically what an API does. Now, for instance, a more practical and easy example is you're looking for John Cooper. Sometimes we want to find someone that we've known in the past. We go to Facebook, we type their name, right? Then what Facebook will do is that the API will take that particular request. You're looking for Mr. John. It will take you to the Facebook server. This Facebook server then brings back a response to your screen and say, okay, this is all the John Cooper that I have on Facebook. And from there, you're able to pick or choose the person you're looking for. We talked about a restaurant, the same thing goes for a restaurant. You're traveling to a state or city, you don't know any restaurant in your particular location. I'll take your Collins, I'll take your question in a minute. You're going to a restaurant, you're searching for a restaurant nearby. You go to Uber Eats, you search, you're in blah, blah, blah. And then Uber Eats gives you a list of restaurants within 10 miles, 5 miles, and all that. That is making use of API. All right, so Collins, if you raised your hands, what question do you have? Do you want to unmute yourself and ask the question? Oh, can you please put in presentation? Okay. Yeah. So I thought someone wanted to ask a question.
Hi.
Yeah, hi, hello.
Yeah, can I just ask, as you were talking now, I just thought of something like I have when I want to shop on ASOS. So sometimes when I want to check out, they ask if I would like to register or if I would like to sign in with my Facebook or Google account. Is that something, is that like API as well?
Yeah, basically that makes use of an API. So what happens is that your ASOS has an interface, makes use of an interface which Google and Facebook has exposed to them. So they make use of that API and say, okay, all right, your name is blah blah blah. You put in your name, you put in your Facebook or Google Gmail account, password and whatever. You put it on ASOS website. ASOS then go into Facebook's database, search you, validates that it is you that you're looking, that you are the exact person, and then brings back that response and provides all your user profiles from Facebook to ASOS. So and that connects your account. So there's that interface that talks to each other. So, but in terms of what the developers will do is that developers would have opened up a particular channel. They'll make use of a particular channel that Facebook is actually exposing to make other people talk to them and use their database to be able to access their people's profile. Yeah. Somebody else has another question.
Thank you.
Yes, it's me. Hello?
Yeah, go on, yeah.
Yeah, I want to ask whether, example, the project we're doing now, are you saying that the middle tier where we're going to be communicating with the database is the API? Because my understanding of API before was like, example, if I have a shop now, that online shop, like e-commerce shop, and I want to connect to like PayPal or any company that to accept payments, that was what I understand as API, that to connect to their system for them to accept my payments for me and put it in my account. But I do not know, like, if it's your if you're doing your own project and connecting to your database, the middle tier, I didn't know that was called API.
All right, so yeah, I understand what you mean. All right, so you can make use of API either through talking to different systems or within your own application, right? So there might be a simple call. There might just be a simple let's say a simple get request for you to say, okay, get me okay, for instance, if you're talking about, I don't know what kind of application you're using now, right? So let's say you have a form and the form has a logic. So to be honest, there are some applications that don't have anything at the back. They don't store any information, right? All they just do is that they just, make a simple call to, it's just what do they call it? They collect and submit. They don't actually do anything. It doesn't store anything in the backend. There's no backend. There's nothing. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So, but
Yeah,
the interaction, but what an API actually does is that an API serves as a bridge between two systems. So, okay, so let me give you another basic example. So, your mouse, the mouse that you use to interact with your, what did they call it? Your desktop, right? Makes use of a protocol. So despite the fact that you are using a wired mouse, yeah. So there's something in between that mouse and that your computer that talk to each other, that exchanges communication. So when you make a click, the click registers on the computer, and then carries out that particular request for you. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So sometimes sometimes some applications are just like, they don't store anything. They just whatever you feed to them that they hold on to.
Yeah.
But when you are talking about exchanging communication, so if I've given a typical example, you want to travel abroad, you are okay. You for instance, if you go to BBC website now, right, and say, give me the weather in whatever, yeah. BBC website will talk to a weather exchange and then give you information about the weather for that particular location that you're looking for. So there's a communication between BBC's website and that weather application or weather web service. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So there are two different distinct. They are two different. Don't get it confused. We're talking about something that exchanges communication between two, that provides you a response when you ask for something, and communicates within two different softwares. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Or are you still confused?
Yeah. No, I'm not confused. I didn't know it was called API, basically. I just thought API is normally when you connect to an external software or a provider. I didn't know, like, if it's internally your own, that's called API, but I don't. Okay, you have explained it very clearly.
So you can have an internal one. You can have an internal one, and you can also have an external one as well.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I understand. No problem.
All right. So, okay. All right. So the same thing goes for Twitter as well. When you tweet, to get, you want to tweet and you want to ask information on Twitter for different things, you get provided by the results. That's an API. So so before I go there, let me just say, okay. Now I'll just go to this slide now. So benefits of API. All right. So benefits of API testing. When we are looking at API testing, because we don't have, before I do this, I think let me just explain this. Let me just use this diagram to explain something to you guys. Okay. All right. So the diagram we are looking at is a simple example of a UI level testing. All right. So when we want to test an application that has a UI, for instance, if you want to test, look at this diagram here. You have a pet website, yeah. So you go to the website, you enter the name of the pet you want to test. Sorry, you enter the name of the pets you want to. Let's say you want to retrieve pets, dogs, cats, different pictures and everything, or or whatever. So you enter, like for instance, you click on the cat. It goes into the. So you click on cats, it goes into the database, then it comes back with the picture of cats. You click on birds, you go into the user database, and then it clicks on, and then picks up all the pictures of birds and snakes and all that, blah, 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 blah. But with API, you don't have that UI, right? So all you just have to hit is maybe something like pets, blah, blah, blah. Let's say pets.com/ blah, 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 blah. Okay, I want to find a pet that is called Daniel and blah, 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 blah. So there's no UI, there's no interaction, there's nothing for you to see. It just goes into the database and then it gives you a result of all the cats that are named Daniel. I don't know if I'm making sense to anyone. So that is what, for API, there's no interaction phase. Yeah. All you just have is an endpoint and then your results. You're not communicating with any form of interface or anything. So someone else is asking the question. Who's that? If you want to quickly unmute yourself. I thought someone said they have a question. All right, okay. In the absence of any question, we'll just go to the next one. All right, so benefits of testing API. There's a faster time to resolution. So when test fails, so I've just shown you an application that has a UI, but when you are testing with API, there's no UI. All right. So when an application fails, for instance, if you have a bug on the UI, maybe they've made a change to if you're writing Selenium test, I don't know if anyone knows Selenium test. If you're writing Selenium test, or if you are doing any kind of web testing and they've made a change to the user interface, and then you try to run those tests will fail. So for instance, if I have a UI, and let's say this is benefit of testing of API testing, and then maybe I come back tomorrow and they've changed it to API something. They've changed the name. If I have a test, an automation test that actually looks for this benefit of API testing, if they change the name of this to something else, if they let's say they call it dogs are animals, when my test comes in the morning, my test will fail because it is not going to be seeing these benefits of API testing, it's seeing something else. But with API, but in terms of API testing, right? API testing does not make use of the UI. API makes testing of just the interaction. It just talks with the backend, just the communication protocol, and then gets the response, passes the response and all that. So it is faster to, it is, where am I even? So sorry, what am I testing? So this is what this is what I'm talking about. So the speed and coverage of testing. So in case sometimes you have UI tests that may take up to like 30 hours to run. But with someone's, yeah, if you want to speak, Collins, just talk, please. You're raising your hand.
Oh, I've already asked my question. It's okay. I'll just ask whether API is more or less like a search engine.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
I've already asked my question. I was saying that is API more or less like a search engine?
No. API is not. It's not a search engine, because a search engine that has many facets to it. If a search engine will have the UI where you interact with. You type like Google, you type something into Google, when you go to google.com, it provides you an interface for you to type something into it, and then you click search, and then it goes to the back. So between that search button and the result coming back to you, it makes use of an API, depending on what you're searching for. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
I do understand, but when you say that, when you do like e-ticketing online, or like if you do like hotel searching, and maybe you type in like you want to go to maybe Cancun or maybe Alicante, you type in Trivago, it brings you all the available days. That's what you were trying to say to me. So I thought maybe
So I've already explained it by saying that when you go to a restaurant, right, you see the menu, you pick the menu, you tell the waiter I want rice. The waiter is your API, because he's the one that would carry that order from your table to the kitchen and bring your order back. So that middle person is your API. Yeah.
That's right. Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. So we'll just go quick, faster into this, right? I think we can do much more. We can do some research online to understand this better. So testing with API. So one of the benefits of testing with API is with API testing, once the logic is designed, tests can be built to validate the correctness in your response and data. We don't have to wait for various teams to. So basically, it is faster to test because all you need is just the logic, the understanding of the logic to write your test and do that. You don't need your UI and all that. Yeah. So there is easy maintenance. I was trying to explain that once you have Selenium test written, and then there's a change to the UI, your tests start breaking. But with API, because you are testing the business logic, which is more or less constant, except for intermittent upgrades and all that, versioning and all that. Maybe you're adding a new, you're just increasing the iteration of the version and all that. It is easier to maintain and all that. So UI are constantly changing and moving around based on how they are assessed: browsers, device, screen orientation, etc. So this creates a nightmare scenario where tests are being constantly written to keep up with the actual code in production. So API are much more controlled and infrequent. So they're easier to test. So you know what? For people that want to pursue testing as a course, as a profession, these are kind of questions they ask in interviews. Benefits of API testing. So you might want to do some more research into this. So faster time to resolve. When API tests fail, we know where our system broke and where the defects can be found. This helps to reduce the bugs triage time between builds, integration, and everything. So what this is actually saying is that API tests are easy to resolve than UI test and all that, because we know that because we're able to dictate. So for instance, if you know that if you're searching for something and you're not able to get your results, okay, and the UI is working as expected, you know that, okay, well, maybe there's a break between the logic that carries the information between the client and the server. So the client is the person requesting the information, the server is the person providing the response. So you know that, okay, maybe there's a break in logic, it is easy for you to quickly detect, repair the issue, and then get your application back and running. And in terms of test coverage, you don't need to write Selenium tests when you're writing API. You write tests, but you don't need to make use of elements, gathering elements or writing, all those things. And they're easy and they are quicker to run, because, for instance, your UI test may take 30 hours to run, but with API tests, you can run hundreds of tests, within minutes and all that. And they are quite easy to fix as well. I've already explained all this. So what is API testing and why should we be using it? So you find out that, okay, so when you go to your e-commerce website, you have your login. You have your, for instance, if you want to buy something from, somebody was talking about ASOS now, they want to buy something from ASOS. So you log in with your, and the person gave a good example. They want to integrate their Facebook login to ASOS. They log in with their username and password, the same username and password for Facebook. ASOS will make use of the protocol will send a message to the Facebook server. They retrieve the information, they log in. Now you want to display they want to check their user profile. They're able to see all the information downloaded from Facebook onto ASOS. So that makes use of an API. So Facebook server is talking to ASOS server now. And then within ASOS, right, you have shoe section, you have maybe you have let's say ASOS, let's say they are selling electronics as well. So you have fashion, you have electronics, and you have maybe like home departments as well, where they are selling like cookware and all that. So when you interact with home section, it brings you everything that you have for home section, right? So that's a separate server. When you talk to clothing, it brings you clothing, for men, women, and all that. Yeah. And then when you talk to your user profile, you have another server that talks to. So these are all like different servers. So that is what. So in most architecture, right? They call all these little servers, they call them microservices, right? So they are like different services performing different functions. Okay. So many companies are moving towards this kind of model, because why they are doing that is because, for instance, now a lot of us will find out that maybe you get a text from your bank maybe on a Friday evening saying that between 12 midnight and 1 and 6 a.m. in the morning on Sunday, you won't be able to make withdrawals. You can still, so that they will say to you, you can still access your application, but you won't be able to make withdrawals. So what this means is that your application is still, they are making use of microservices, in the sense that rather than bringing down the entire application down, rather than shutting down the entire application for them to be able to make maintenance in the sense that maybe they want to improve infrastructure, maybe they want to improve the security, or maybe they want to add new make new enhancements to. So for instance, in this particular instance, let's say ASOS they want to add the latest designs of a particular, they want to add cars, they want to start selling cars now, right? So rather than them shutting down the whole website, say, okay, because we want to start adding cars to our catalog of things that we're selling, what we'll do is when you access ASOS on Sunday nights, you won't be able to request for clothing, or you won't be able to request for homeware, or you won't be able to request for anything, but you'll be able to access your accounts. But by morning, when we restore it, you will have access to everything. So the microservice model is just a way to say that we can split our different infrastructure or services. We can split them into different modules, little components that talks to each other. So what I'm driving at is that these little components talking to each other makes use of API. Yeah. That is what I'm trying to derive in this explanation I'm making to you. So API enables organizations to have different microservices or different components that makes up makes up an application. But these little components talk to each other using form of protocol, APIs, right? Now, and what this actually does is that it makes them deploy application more quickly. And I've also explained, that, they can do enhancements without having to shut down the entire application. They can do this, they can do that. Those are what microservices does and why they make use of API. So when we have API, API are usually made up of, so when we have API, so just hold on. So the next thing is, so we've already talked about this here. So API can be used and can be written and used for web applications, computer operating systems. So I've already talked about web applications. We have e-commerce websites. We have Facebook. We have blogs. You can use APIs for all those things. Computer operating systems. When you're talking about, I've already explained the mouse and the computer, the interaction between them. When we come to software libraries, we are talking about, for people that are doing automation, we talk about NuGet packages. For people in C#, dependencies, jar files, plugins, and all that. And if you're doing Java and all that. So that is what API can be written for. Yeah. So the list is not exhaustive. So there are different types of API. There are different types of API testing. We have this simple one, which is the unit test. So you see on this diagram here, I'm making a post call. So I will show you something now. I'm making a post call I'm making a single, just a single test to an endpoint. So let's say I want to retrieve shoes in ASOS. So I go to a website, I just click, okay, give me shoe size 10. So you just list all the shoes that are size 10, or give me shoes for men. That's a simple request. I get, it returns a response of all the list of shoes for men and all that. Then integration testing is what I've explained to you earlier. You go to TripAdvisor, you're going to France, you're on a Thursday night, blah, blah, blah. You ask for all the hotels within that particular location, returns all the hotels in, let's say in Paris and all that. That is integration testing. So because it's talking from one application to the other and then bringing back the results and all that. So that's integration testing. And it's also, it's also a means of, it's also a form of, sorry, can that person mute themselves, please? All right, and it's also another form of end-to-end testing, because integration testing tests integration between two components. So let's say a typical example is you want to test the response you get on for weather in London. So you go to BBC website, you enter, give me the weather in London, it returns a value for you for tomorrow as the weather. That is a form of integration testing because you are testing two different websites. It's also a form of end-to-end testing because there's data flow between two different connections. The weather app and also that displays the information for you. So, so for people that are doing testing, so you find this as, you know, if I were you, I would research what unit testing is, what integration testing is, and what end-to-end testing is. So we're now going into much more details of, have I confused anyone, or is everyone clear and we're happy to progress? You can just type in maybe yes or no in the chat, just so that I know you're following me.
Sorry. Hello.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah. Are we going to be taught about the tool that we use to test the API as a Postman? And when can we use post to test the APIs?
Okay, yeah, so we'll come to that, but I'm just trying to give you a quick background. You know what? I think we should actually do that, to be honest. We'll talk about all these ones. So I'll just show you something. So I think just hold on a second. All right, so going to the question that the man just asked now, we talked about making a simple request to an endpoint, right? So for people that you can lay your hand on this website, it's a free website. If you look at it, it's called http recrease.in. So if you go to that website, it is a website that contains simple APIs for you to just get your hands on and understand what we've been talking about. So I did mention to you just some minutes back that you can do a simple, yeah, I'll answer your question in a bit here. That you can do a simple request to an endpoint and then it retrieves you a response, right? So I said a simple, a simple test, as simple as testing a single endpoint with a single request, looking for a simple response or a set of responses. So for instance, so this particular website, if you click on this get request, right? This is the requests API. I've shown you earlier. So when we are talking about API, we don't have like, there's no UI. There's no UI to say, okay, this, maybe selects users or blah, blah, blah. It is more like backend for the people that are not really into it, that are just new into IT. It's just like, the layer, there's something behind your computer that does all the work and, all the computation and logic and all that, and then sends the information to you. So in this particular one, okay, all right, Ajibola, what's your question?
Hello, thank you. It's not Ajibola, it's his mom.
Okay, sorry.
So my question is, you are saying the unit testing is just for one product. Because you gave an example of one, you are looking at the shoe size of a man. And also now the question is the integration. Is it only for two? Because you gave an example of weather in London, and I don't know, though you've not really explained that end to end anyway. But is it the integration? Is it to test two when you are testing two products?
Yeah, you've answered the question yourself. So integration is when you are testing two components, two systems, right? So okay, so if you have
end to end.
End to end is okay. So end to end is you go to ASOS, right? You pick a shoe or you pick a shirt and say, okay, I want to buy a shirt. You go to your put it in your basket. You put your credit card details. You put and then you click submit, and then it gives you a confirmation that okay, the shirt you bought is we'll be sending it to your address. Blah blah blah. That is end to end. You've completed the flow. Or end to end could also mean that, for instance, if you are testing login, right? You want to confirm that you can log into Facebook. Do you get what I'm saying?
All right.
So it depends on it depends on that particular situation that you're testing. If your application is not complete, you can just be testing little bits of that application. So they might say, okay, end-to-end testing or end-to-end journey. Yeah. Now integration is when you test connection between two systems or components.
All right.
Right. Yeah. So what I'll say to you is that you need to in order not to get confused, you need to research more. And I'll say to everybody listening to this call, you need to research more. So it could mean, so at different scenarios, it could mean different things. Yeah. So you don't get confused. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. So on this particular, this is just go to this website, test your front end against the real API. Yeah. So what this basically does is it's going to answer the question from the previous from the person who spoke before the last person about are we going to do get? Are we going to do? So these are all the different API verbs. So they call them the CRUD verb. Yeah. So you have the get request. So when you're getting something, you're asking for something, right? Yeah. When you're posting something in this instance for API, you're posting something, you are creating something, right? So it gives you the definition, it gives you the verbs, and then it gives you what the definition are. Yeah. So don't get confused. So the get is asking for something. I want to get the list of users. I want to get a single user. I want to get a list of resources. Yeah. So when you are posting something, you are creating a resource. So for instance, if you click on this one now, what we are saying is that we want to add someone called Morpheus with the job title leader to this database. We are adding something. We are creating a user with this job description into the database. This one says we want to get all the users, yeah, in page 2. So it will return to us all the users in page 2. So you find out that this is page 2, and then ignore this for now. Just ignore this for now. No, it's okay. Ignore this for now, yeah? So you say this is page 2, and this is the data in page 2. So we have someone with ID 7, with the name Michael, with the email Michael, with the first name Michael, with the last name Lawson, and then the avatar and all that. So we have, so it goes further down. So it goes further down with all this. So this particular endpoint is retrieving all the users in page 2, right? So if you look at this one, this one, it says get single user. So if I say I want to get user with ID number 2, it returns that person with ID number 2. Yeah. Then if you go back here and says, okay, this one doesn't really give me ID number 2. So if you come here and say, okay, give me user with number 23. Number 23 does not exist. That is why it is coming back as empty. Yeah, and it's giving you a 404. So don't get confused now. I'm only trying to like, what am I doing? I'm only trying to like introduce you to API testing. If you still don't understand it at this point, don't get confused. Subsequent classes will go into more detail. But for the person, I'm just trying to like, make you understand that when we are testing API, when you ask for something on the UI, right? Say, okay, get me the list of cars, or get me the t-shirt size extra large. What it will do, it will go to the backend, return all the t-shirt size with extra large, and then populate it back to you. Yeah, so you can ask the question. Go ahead. You wanted to ask the question. Someone wanted to ask the question.
Yeah, I just wanted to find out what's the difference between API and kind of SQL.
Yeah, so SQL is a language for querying databases. So it's called, I think it's called structured query language or something, if I'm correct. So SQL is a language to query database, while API is a communication protocol between two endpoints or two softwares or two systems. Yeah.
Okay, thank
Was that,
you.
yeah. So
Excuse me, please.
Please, I have a question,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
yeah, go on.
So the API itself, right? Is it a software that is communicating between the two endpoints, or is it what is it? It's kind of confusing to me.
It's a
Or
protocol.
is it a line of code?
Exactly. It's a line of code. So that's why I said it's a logic, right? It's a logic. It has something. It's a logic layer. Yeah. It's where all the. So let's say you have all your computation that says that if somebody comes to your restaurant, right, and they say they want to buy rice, coke, meat, chicken, chips, and all that, yeah, the API will compute. It will say to you that, okay, you know what, we have rice, we have chicken, we have this, and this is the amount, this is the quantity you can get and all that. So if you are saying that I want to get 1,000, so for instance now, yeah, if you look at my screen, I'm saying that get me something number 23, user number 23. It's returning a 404 because that user number 23 does not exist. This is the API. This is the API, yeah? It is going back to the backend and says user number 23 does not exist. And that's why it's coming back with empty. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So it bridges the gap between the front end, what you are talking to, and what is available at the back that you cannot see. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So it's just like you need somebody to carry your message to the back, where you have your database, right? Or you have all the you have your server, you have everything that makes your application work. You need somebody to be able to convey your message from your screen to what you cannot see. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I get, but I'm just trying to understand how this is different from the UI. So how does the interaction differ when there's a user interface?
I've already said it's the UI is what you see, what you can talk to, right? So you is what accepts your inputs, right?
Yeah.
So if you go to your ATM, right? Your ATM is a physical machine, is your UI. That thing that you are punching your pin into, yeah, that you are talking to is your UI. Yeah, your machine is your UI. But between that thing that UI has something that takes information from that machine and takes it to your bank.
Okay.
Do you get what I'm trying to say? You know, when you are talking, when you are punching all those numbers in your ATM, you're not talking to the bank, are you?
No.
Okay. So what transfers information from, I'm just giving you an example, right? What transfers information from that your ATM to your bank, and that has all the information of everybody that banks with them and the account details and everything, is what is called an API.
Okay. Yeah, I
Do you get? So when you put your PIN, your PIN identifies you in 4 digits numbers, right?
Yeah.
And you put in your card will need your PIN to identify you. Then it will go back and say, okay, this person is banking with this bank. We can provide them with the account details. Then it gives you your balance and everything. That's what identifies you. So between that period when you put in your PIN and your card and everything, and you press enter, something has to communicate with the bank and come back. Yeah, so that's the way it works when you use a mobile app. And that is what we are saying, that when you are going on holiday to anywhere, you go on, do you know what TripAdvisor is?
Yeah.
All right, so when you go to TripAdvisor and say you're going to Lagos, right, and you want to stay in Ikeja, and you want a hotel, so it will provide you with all the there's a communication that's from TripAdvisor that speaks to all the hotel chains in Lagos, in Ikeja, and say, okay, provide me all the prices for Friday, the 25th of February to Sunday, the 27th of February in Ikeja. So that API quickly gets information from all those services, that it talks to, and then retrieves all the information back to your screen and say, okay, there's one hotel in this place, there's one hotel in that place, it's 50 naira, it's 100 naira, it's 1,000 pounds, it's this, and then you pick the hotel of your choice. It's just like Uber Eats as well. You know the way you'd want to buy something on Uber. Have you used Uber Eats before?
Yeah.
Or Uber Taxi and all that. It shows you a
Yeah.
list of taxis on the map and see, okay, these are all the list of drivers in that location. Which one is okay? We'll send the one that is closer to you.
Okay.
So you know what, you can keep talking about this, but I think the best thing is people need to do a bit of research. So come back next class and then we'll take it further, because you really need to understand what we are saying. But I'll say this is an introductory class. You need to do a research, understand what we're talking about, and then because there's no point going further if you guys are still asking about what an API is, to be honest.
No, I understand. I quite understand. I was just getting clarifications from you.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so someone is asking examples of integration and end-to-end testing and differentiate well. I'll say, you know what, if you go to, let me just quickly help you guys out with something. And I will take the last comment from someone wanted to talk, and I'll take a comment from them.
Yeah, sorry. Can I, what's the difference between the API and web services?
So API is a communication protocol, yeah? So a web service would expose a service. So let's say you have, okay, let me use a busy example of BBC, right? Yeah. So when you go to BBC website and you say, and then BBC shows you like the weather for London at the moment, you know, okay, let's say you go to BBC website and it shows you weather for London, right? Yeah. Something is providing that information to BBC website. Are you listening? Something is providing that information to BBC website saying, okay, at every point in time, if you refresh it, it says, okay, it's 12 degrees in London now. Maybe later at night, when everything is cooler, it becomes 4 degrees. There's a web service providing that information to BBC website, but they are communicating through an API. Does that answer your question?
Oh, yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's it. So for the person who doesn't understand integration testing, if you Google it, right, I've talked about it. So is a phase of software testing in which individual software models are combined and tested as a group. Yeah. So so for people that are new to, for those of you that are new to testing, you can always research these things. And when we talk about them, if you are still confused, you can always Google them, right? So I think you need to go and read this speech, to be honest. If you are still confused, go and read, go to this website and read it. We spoke about unit testing, where you are testing a single piece of code. And I gave you an example of this one, right? You're just testing, you're just saying, okay, give me this single user. Yeah. We are just trying to understand, okay, if I test this API and it gives me a response of 200, sorry. If I test this API, yeah, it gives me 200. Or if I test this API that has a list of users, right, it gives me a simple response. Just give get, let's say get and reply, get and reply, get users on page 2, reply. That is a unit test, right? You're just testing that, okay, you can retrieve the list of users in page 2, you can retrieve the list of user number 23, you can ask for, you know, something, and then you're getting a response back. That is right. But now, if you are now going to say, okay, I'm going to put in my username, right? And I want to get response back. Okay, for instance, if you go to Facebook and say, okay, get me John in London, John Cooper that lives in London or lives in London, and then that is black or that is white or that is gray or that is short and all that. So you are not only looking for John Cooper that lives in London, but you are also looking for some specification. So you are going from one model to the other. So you are looking for name, you are looking for someone with a specific characteristics. You are looking for someone with a specific name. So you are combining different model, looking for more interaction. So that's what that is like. I'm trying to just break it down for you to understand what API, what integration testing means, right? So, but I don't know how best to say it, right? So it's when you combine different models. So let's see, I think here it says, example of it. Okay, so integration test differs from other tests in the sense that it focuses mainly on the interfaces and flow data between the models. Here, priority is given to the integration links rather than the unit function, which are already tested. Sample integration tests for the following scenario. Application has 3 models. So let's say, okay, so this one says login page, mailbox, and delete emails, and each of them is integrated logically. So I'll here do not concentrate much on the login page testing, as already been done in unit testing. So the login page is a single model, but check how it is linked to the mailbox. Similarly, mailbox, check its integration with the delete model. So you have, so you check the link between the login and the mailbox model. So you enter your credentials and click on login button. Then you direct it to your mailbox, right? Then you check the interface link between the mailbox and the delete. So from the mailbox, select an email and click a delete button. Then the selected email should appear in the deleted trash. So you've tested the login module, you've tested the mailbox module, and then you've tested the delete module. That is integration testing. Does that answer your question? Hello, whoever has answered that question. So that is like more like integration testing. So for end-to-end testing, right? I've already explained end-to-end testing to you. End-to-end testing is, you want to go from beginning to end. You want to test the whole flow. That's what they call end-to-end testing, from one extreme to the other extreme. So to be honest, that particular example that I just explained about mailbox testing can also be an end-to-end testing, because if that particular workflow is you want to log in and you want to delete a mail, it can also be an end-to-end testing because you're going from one extreme to the other. And it's also an integration testing because you are interacting with the login module, the mail module, and the delete module. Yeah? Does that answer your question?
Yes, sorry. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, this will be the last question.
I just want to clarify it. It's the same question. I just want to state it the way I understand it. End-to-end testing is, they're testing a set of a particular command on just one particular thing from beginning to the end, while integration is going through different ones, different, how do I put it?
Different modules. So you have your log. So let's take it like you have your login page. You have, so in that particular example, you go to, you have, let's say you want to use Yahoo Mail or Gmail, right? You log in into Gmail, yeah? Once you log in into Gmail, that's the login function, is a model. You access your email, your email opens up where you see all the emails, 1,000 emails. That is your mailbox, right? Yeah. Now, when you click an item in your mailbox, so you also have another folder that says deleted box, deleted items, right? Yeah, so it's another model. Yeah. So once you log in, you go to your mailbox, which is your login page, your mailbox, which is where your email sits, and then you take an email, you delete that email, you press delete on your mailbox, it goes into the deleted folder. So that's another model. So that interaction between them is called integration testing, because those 3 things are talking to each other. There's a chain. Yeah. So you can also call it end-to-end testing because you are saying that I'm testing login to deletion. It could also mean an end-to-end because you're starting from one end and you're finishing on one end. So that's all. So I believe we have covered a lot. And to be honest, if I were you, I would go to Google in my spare time and then read about API. There are so many resources on the internet about API. Subsequent class will go into much more detailed understanding of what API is. So, all right. Thank you everyone for attending this evening, and yeah, bye-bye.